really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, friends, gather around. Let's all get together here for the next 3 hours and discuss what went down this weekend, discuss the usage of or in the quarterback situation on the depth chart. I thought Mike Chappell brought this up, and I do absolutely agree with him. With Jake a little bit earlier today, pay no real attention to the depth chart the way that it looks right now. And Mike is 100% accurate about that. However, the one thing you should know is this. They are going to ride the crest of this competition value until they feel they can hand this over to Anthony Richardson. Because, again, there's zero way, in my belief, that he does not start in week number 1. And I know a lot of it's going to do the Green Bay game, that second preseason game coming up a week from Saturday. You get a dress rehearsal of sorts coming up on Thursday. We'll explain all of that. None of this really bothers me because we're going to figure all this out. Finally, I don't know if anybody else feels the same way as I do. It's funny. So last night I'm on Fox 59 with Hagan. I'm in the backyard. We're doing some things, having some fun with Fox 59 overtime, dominating the local numbers and TV per usual. Shout out to Fox 59 for that. But we were talking about the apathetic approach by the fan base to this. And I think I have a pretty good feel as a reference base. And I talk to Jake all the time. You know, Jake's been around here forever, and he has a pretty good feel of it as well. I can't remember a time when you had a fan base that is, kind of wake me up when the season starts type of deal here. We have all of this content that's going, and it is really good for the hardest of hardcore football fans. This station for 9 hours every day has all the Colts content that you could possibly want for a team that really nobody else gives a damn about except for us. And nobody does. And nobody has for a while. Since Andrew Luck. Since the Andrew Luck retirement, nobody has given a crap about this organization or this team except for us. So 9 hours a day, we give you incredible content. And then even after that, too, with the Colts content, that Matt Taylor and Casey Valier provide exactly what is necessary for you to stay in the know. I have not been around here for a time of which you didn't care as much as you don't care about it right now. It's like, all right, get me to week number 1, and then we'll have a conversation about something because this is all a waste of time. Yeah, okay, whatever. He almost was intercepted. He was intercepted. He wasn't intercepted. This back and forth has absolutely worn you out. So if anybody believes you're going to be affected by a camp competition with quarterbacks compared to what you have had to watch in actuality on the field when it really matters, since Andrew Luck was healthy around here, good luck. Actually, I take that back. I should give more credit where credit is due. Since Phillip Rivers had the 1 year here. And even in that 1 year, we were talking about how his arm wasn't strong. But you would take that in a heartbeat. I mentioned this last week. You would take the Carson Wentz season, stats-wise, numbers-wise, the way that it ended. That was just kind of the way this organization has been going. But stats-wise, numbers-wise, production at that position, you would take that in a heartbeat this season. You would be writing glorious articles about Anthony Richardson, or glorious articles about Daniel Jones, or Riley Leonard, or James, or me, or you, or your grandfather. Glorious articles. if those numbers were presented to you. So if anybody thinks this is, going to upset you or have some profound effect, it won't. And I get it, and you can tell. Hagan had asked me last night if there was kind of a hangover going on. And I said, well, you know what? There's one thing I know a little bit about. It's a hangover. Explain. Tell me more. So he said, you had the Pacers team that really unlocked the euphoria of becoming a local sports fan around here again, that really only Purdue has explored here in recent memory. I guess IU football, too, this past season. So you've been fortunate with Boilermaker basketball consistently, IU football a year ago with Kurt Cignetti in his debut, and then this Pacers season was absolutely off the charts. I don't care what anybody says. No matter how it ended, it was off the charts. Great team, great experience, horrific ending. Yeah, sometimes, the Pacers kind of went out like Roy McAvoy, Tin Cup, did in the film Tin Cup. You know what? I don't know how much anybody outside of Oklahoma City is going to remember Oklahoma City for, that incredible 7-game series win. But you're going to remember how the Pacers went out. They went out with everything going on. Their guy injured. Last-second shots. I can't get away from it, and I love it, too. When you get on Facebook, I guess the algorithms, which is well over my head of expertise here, because I'm just not very bright, but these algorithms, will give you videos that the algorithms, they kind of decide what you like and what you don't like. So I get all these Pacer videos and highlights from the past year and from the playoffs, and it is so good. I can watch these things over and over again, and this team didn't win a title. When's the last time you could do that? The Colts in Super Bowl 41? And they actually won a Super Bowl that year. IU in 87, they actually won the national championship. When's the last time you could watch a group of highlights nonstop? I would assume probably a lot of you would say IU basketball in the early 90s. But I can't get enough. I can't get enough of everything Halliburton, everything Nembhard, the game from Neesmith with the Knicks. The last-second shots, just the absolute incredible stuff that's going on. And that's what Hagan was explaining to me. He said, hey, there's a bit of a hangover going on here because you come off of that, and now basically, you start at the root with the Colts right here. And you start at the root of a team that has been very unimpressive. There's been no spirit, no thrill, really not much of anything. Man, it is so up to those guys to perform and do something a little bit different this year. I don't know who it was. It might have been Kenny Moore, who the morning show talked to at the very beginning of camp, that talked about, watching the Pacers kind of gives you a little bit of inspiration. By God, it should give you some inspiration if you're the Colts, because there's been a lack of inspiration for years now. It's kind of the same old path. I was kind of joking around about our building and the escalator that didn't work. This Colts organization has been the escalator of the Emmis building that hasn't worked for years. So to suggest, and I think rightly so, that there is a great deal of apathy to begin this season with this team is incredibly accurate. I'm not suggesting you're not hardcore, you don't care, because there are a lot out there, but there are a lot more of the people that I describe right now than there are of you, I should say, right now. And to build that, to cultivate that, that comes down with this team doing a little something, in fact, they haven't done in a long time. So there's zero way that or between one quarterback and the other's name on the depth chart is going to have that much of a profound effect on anybody around here, and it should not. Because you know where you are, you know what you're dealing with. Again, until further notice, you will reserve the right to make that decision when you see something change. 100% where we are right now. And I haven't seen it like this before. Hey, listen, there is nobody, and I mean nobody, 55 or otherwise, that digs a party more than me. Yeah, you hand me that. I'll be the Pied Piper. What's the flute? That doesn't sound weird at all. You hand me that flute, and I'll Pied Piper you to the best party. I love celebrate because we don't listen. I'm looking at my watch all the time, going, all right. So, hey, how much more time do we have to celebrate here before I get old and then past it? So I'm soaking it all up and soaking it all up right now. And there is no greater pathway to your enjoyment, to the fun, and the celebration as we witnessed with the Pacers this past season than your favorite teams doing things upright. IU football fans know that to be true. Pacer fans now know that to be true. Boilermaker fans have lived in that world with their basketball team now for a number of years. We once upon a time, before a lot of you were born, got to celebrate in that aspect with this Colts team, but it has been now long since in the rear view. So it's up to you. So whether or not it's Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, can it just be somebody that can do the stinking job? That's what matters the most. All right, the Colts are going to go back and forth, a little practice competition with the Ravens this week, and then, of course, the culmination of that is on Thursday. A little bit about what we're doing on Thursday. First of all, I am so proud. My man Carlton Mills from Ducks of Noblesville. I think that's D-U-C-T-Z, James. Not great at spelling, but I think I can spell that. Carlton is bringing a truck, holy crap, with a basketball goal in the back of it. Why didn't I think of that? My jumper was so broke-ass yesterday, I should have come right out of the JMV takeover and had a truck just like that and went home and shot jumpers because it was broke-ass yesterday morning. I was cussing, throwing fits, blaming stuff, just my usual crap. But I'll get it all back, and coming up on Thursday, the most glorious golf outing of all time, where you could possibly win prizes by shooting against me. I don't really know what the contest shooting-wise is going to be just yet, but we're going to have really loud music, and we're going to be shooting into the back of this truck with a basketball goal in it. Seriously, I don't think Carlton's ever going to get this truck back. Good luck. Good luck, Carlton. Can you imagine wherever I go, yeah, you know what? I got to take Laney to Center Grove. And, hey, while we're waiting in the drop-off line, I'm going to get back here and shoot some jumpers. Come on. It is awesome. So a shout-out to Carlton Mills, Ducks of Noblesville. And bringing the truck with the basketball goal in the back. Thus, we are going to have ourselves a significant contest, James.
I'm kind of surprised you don't have a little pop-up basketball goal in the back of your truck. How do I not
have a truck in the back? All right. How do I not have a goal in the back of my truck?
You really should.
Can you imagine? I just go, hey. All right, we got to stop here for a minute. Yeah, I got to drop you guys. I'm going to get back here and shoot some jumpers. The only thing I got to figure out is what ball I'm going to use. The outdoor ball is weird to me. I don't think I dig the outdoor ball. I don't think I want to shoot the outdoor ball. Is it okay? Does anybody else out there ever use an indoor ball outdoors? Is that frowned upon? Because I may have to do that. I will say this. Our good friend John D'Armelio brings the NCAA, the official NCAA basketball. Have you guys seen this or ever used that? It feels like an old school 1978 Voight outdoor ball. But I kind of got used to it a little bit. When you're playing in really hot and humid gyms and you try to put a little English on something, it will stick to the backboard. It will stick to the rim. It's sticky. And I think, like anybody, even if you have these little, tiny, mini hands, from those that have hands that can palm a basketball, I think everybody can kind of palm a basketball. Even if you have those little bitty hands, you can palm these things. I don't know. I don't know what the protocol is on that. I've never really tried. Is it okay to utilize an outdoor basketball or an indoor basketball doing outdoor stuff? But again, a shout out to Carlton Mills for bringing that coming up on Thursday. Seriously, if you guys haven't signed up, 1075thefan.com. This is going to be the greatest golf outing of all time. And it may not be about the golf. Certainly it's going to be about the golf with Franciscan Health. But it's going to be about shooting hoop, too. That is going to be great. So me, a lot of our music, and shooting hoop in a goal that's in the back of a truck. That is genius. Carlton Mills, you're a genius, sir. DUCTZ of Noblesville. And actually, Kevin Bowen is the one that turned us on. I think Carlton got a hold of Kevin, and through that, there we go. God, I love hoop. I love shooting hoop in the back of a truck. Do that coming up on Thursday. Legends, 1075thefan.com. Let's just say you're last minute like I am too. Go ahead and sign up for it. Can't wait to see you down there. So we were at the Paradise Day Watson yesterday having our usual Sunday one hell of a time. And I thought, sure, the Fever were trying to silver platter this bad boy. But they did survive 78-74. The one thing that stands out, John Nolan's going to join us a little bit later on. He's the voice of the Fever, right? So the one thing that stands out about this with Caitlin Clark being gone, and I hope that maybe once she returns, there's a little bit of inspiration, but this Fever defense to me, and we'll ask John Nolan this coming up a little bit later on, 4 o'clock hour, in fact. This defense to me, or I should say this Fever team to me, looks a lot better defensively. And I know this is going to get me ripped because everybody gets all pissed anytime you say something that is even slightly perceived as negative toward Caitlin Clark. Listen, I understand what she is. I know what she means to the league. I mean, I talk about me being the Pied Piper of fun. She's the Pied Piper of this league making money. She is above and beyond what really, truly matters right now for this league. We all understand that. But she can't guard James. And sometimes it doesn't look like she really has much of a focus to want to guard James. And James doesn't have a lot of basketball skill. So I think this Fever defense has been a lot better without her. I want her back. I want her in that lineup. Everything is better when she is there. But this defense has been pretty damn good without her, it seems. We'll talk about that with John Nolan. And it took some defense. It also took Seattle. Seattle was like pickup game extravaganza. You guys watched maybe the final minute and a half. They were down 3. That looked like a pickup game. Everybody was shooting 3 no matter what. They could have maybe 4 or 5 different possessions just gone ahead and got an easy 2 and then played it differently, but they went for the tie each and every time. That WNBA basketball kind of reminds me of an outdoor ball. I don't know if it's just the look. I wonder if it has the feel of an outdoor ball because that thing bounces all over the place like a Super Bowl. 78-74 the final. With the Fever won 5 straight. Fever on the road against L.A. L.A. has been a pain in their rear end this season. Sparks 12-15, but some of their more noted wins have come at the expense of the Fever. That's 10 o'clock tomorrow night. Our good friend Pat Boylan, I'm assuming he's going to have that on Channel 13. WTHR, the Fever, a 78-74 win. All right. The idea may have seemed good at the time, but this whole Bristol Motor Speedway baseball game thing, holy crap, what a disaster. Did you watch them? You know what? The players looked like they were having fun for a minute, but there was like water puddled up everywhere on Friday night, and they're playing in this. You thought, what in the hell is happening? That was pretty damn funny. Bristol Motor Speedway and baseball sounds like a hell of an idea until it rains buckets. And then it becomes problematic, does it not? All right, Colts conversation, quarterback or quarterback. Number 1 of the depth chart. We're going to get a good look at both coming up on Thursday. Hey, by the way, Thursday, I'd mentioned this. We have the fan golf outing presented by Franciscan Health, where we all want you to be there with us. That is coming up on Thursday. Legends in Franklin, 1075thefan.com. So this show is going to have about an hour, and then I'm going to have 2 hours of Colts pregame coming up on Thursday. So that'll be Colts pregame with me and Casey Valier and Bill Brooks. And I am excited to tell you this. I talked to Rick Venturi about that on Thursday when I was up at camp in Westfield. A lot more Rick Venturi on this show this season, which is arousing, and a lot more Rick Venturi on the pregame show this season. I love it. Honestly, the more Rick, the better. So you've asked for it, and you will receive more Rick Venturi on this show this season and on the pregame show every Sunday. And in fact, it starts on the pregame show coming up this Thursday, which should be an absolute blast. You get 2 hours again. That's 4 and 5 o'clock hours on Thursday. I'll be doing my portion of it from Legends Golf Club down in Franklin as we wrap up the fan golf outing. And then Casey and Bill and Rick also a part of it. I think Rick's going to be at his house, but Casey and Bill will be here. And we're going to get you set for preseason game number 1 with the Colts and the Ravens. And they have joint practices working their way up to that Thursday experience in preseason. Game number 1. All right, 239-1070. I was saddened to see the passing of Lonnie Anderson at the age of 79. Smoke indeed, Lonnie Anderson was. I was trying to think about the Lonnie Anderson that was Jennifer Marlowe on WKRP in Cincinnati. There's no doubt about that. Lonnie Anderson, like a lot of these actors and actresses did a lot of guest starring roles in 1970s TV. I believe she played a love interest of Jack Tripper. Man, Jack Tripper was getting all the chicks in the 70s. A love interest once upon a time. I believe she met Jack Tripper at the Regal Beagle in an episode of Three's Company. Probably known more now, even more so than WKRP in Cincinnati, and for being a sex symbol of the late 70s and early 80s for what was just a ridiculous tabloid type of relationship and marriage with also deceased Burt Reynolds. Lonnie Anderson was 79. Man, Generation X, for us that are children of the 1980s, this has been one craptacular month. I'm not just talking about August. We're early here. But just the last month, so many of those that we know, we grew up with, we absolutely loved. Lonnie Anderson was 79. All right, quick break, and we shall return. A little bit of hoop on tap. Stephen Holder coming up at the bottom of the hour. He's got travel issues, so we move him up to 3:30. We'll check out that depth chart and more, especially where Tyler Warren, the rookie, is. That's expected. And also a viewpoint of the Colts secondary coming up with Stephen Holder of ESPN. John Nolan is going to be here in the 4 o'clock hour. We have tickets to give away, too, correct? To what? Kansas and Jefferson Starship?
We have actually 3 separate pairs of tickets to give out. Okay. We have Modest Mouse and the Flaming Lips.
Okay.
Kansas. And then we have tickets to see the Thomas Nicholas Band at the Indiana State Fair.
Thomas Nicholas is, you know who that is?
I do not.
Thomas Nicholas, how should I phrase this? American Pie. He was with, he had the book. He found the book in the library.
Mm-hmm.
And, he performed from that book. He was in American Pie.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
For some reason, I thought you were talking about the song.
No. He was no. The film American 1999.
Very
American. Yeah, he was performing from that book.
Gotcha.
Thomas Nicholas. Didn't he used to be Thomas Ian Nicholas? I believe was his name when he was in that film.
You're asking the wrong person.
You've never seen American Pie?
I've seen American Pie.
That's your age group, though.
I've seen American Pie. I just don't know him by his name.
But didn't he find like a handbook, if you will, in the library that was hidden that has...
I also haven't seen American Pie since I was like a sophomore
all the
in high
maneuvers
school.
and the moves. And see, hell, I was too old, but I maneuvers and the moves, and it was detailed. And he was trying to follow that in his performance.
I guess, yeah. I haven't seen the movie in 15 years.
He was opposite of Tara Reid, right? Tara Reid.
She was in that movie, yeah.
Opposite of Tara Reid. State Fair. Hey, State Fair. Speaking of that, the State Fair with the Indiana Donor Network coming up on Saturday night, the JMV Takeover, 6 until midnight. Who's in? Not only that, I'll explain that coming up, but I am going to be absolutely all over the map coming up in the latter portion of this week. We will detail that and how you can join the show or this show or that show every single time. All right, quick break. We'll come back. To stream the app, it's HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. A busy week at Ruoff. Make sure you're a AAA member. You get all those perks, including early entry, the Premier Lounge, where I'm going to be on Wednesday for Men at Work, Christopher Cross, and Toto. Thanks to AAA. Become a AAA member today, and you can get those perks. Stream the app, HD Radio. Do not go anywhere. A busy Monday on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
JMV.
Ahoy, Ploy.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
When'd you come up with this? I like this song a lot. Peter Murphy, Cut You Up, right?
Yep, just a random 80s playlist on Spotify.
1989? This is a great song right here. Peter Murphy?
Yep, 1989.
You guys are asking, so I'm going to be out at the State Fair in the tap room with the Indiana Donor Network doing the JMV Takeover on Saturday night. And I mentioned this on Saturday night during the JMV Takeover, where I kind of want to make this look like a old school Dance Party USA or Club MTV scene. What do you think? DJ Skids is going to join me. I know Laura Steele is going to be out there hanging out with me for a little bit too. But I want to make the all-request Saturday night JMV Takeover in the tap room at the Indiana State Fair kind of be reminiscent of those shows. I think we miss those shows. Dance Party USA, Club MTV. Remember Eric Neese that was the host of Club MTV? Eric Neese's dad, Jack Neese, was a longtime NBA official. Eric Neese always seemed like, in the 90s, one of the bigger douchebags of all time. But maybe he wasn't. In fact, I probably seem like that myself. And I can flat tell you I'm not. So if you're out there thinking, well, wait a minute, douchebag, you're a douchebag. I'm not really, but maybe sometimes I say and do things and dress and take videos of myself wearing sunglasses with no shirt on. And, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm a douchebag. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. I know somebody that isn't. He's cool and covering the Colts and on his way to Baltimore from ESPN and ESPN.com. He's Stephen Holder, and he adjusts time really well as well. Hello, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to know that I am not a douche. That definitely made my day.
Yeah, I am. I am coming up with many qualities that would put me in the douchey category. Right? I can't help myself either. I'm like you remember the song from Arthur, When You Get Caught Between the Moon and New York City from Christopher Cross? I'm caught between hillbilly and douchery right now. I know it's crazy, but it's true.
A lot going on there.
There is. There's a lot going on the surface with this quarterback competition. Is there just as much behind the scenes? Or, obviously they know more than we do. Do they like what's going on? Is it as complicated as it might seem to the naked eye to Colts fans right now on the outside?
Well, I don't know if complicated is the word I would use. I actually think what you're seeing is mostly positive because you're seeing two guys that seem to be giving us what they wanted, which was a really vibrant competition that is bringing out, pretty good play in both guys. I think that there have been days, not every day, but there have been days so far where both guys have exceeded my expectations. I also am very quick to point out that I think training camp means about as much as me going out there and throwing the football around, right? Because it's just such a small sample of what you're really going to see on Sundays. But it means something, and it's all we got, right? That's all we have right now. And so just using what we have right now, I think this is a relatively decent situation for the Colts. I feel a little better about their quarterback situation now than I did coming into camp. So I think that's positive, and I think they agree. The last thing I would add is that they have seen Anthony Richardson respond to basically being called out by adding a quarterback, and they've seen him respond on and off the field, which was the goal as well.
I would also suggest that he had really no other choice other than respond to that. Would you agree?
Well, true. Well, he did. There's a choice, and the choice would be that this doesn't really matter to you. That's what that choice would indicate if he made the other choice, which is to not do what needs to be done, right? And not pour himself into this. If he had done anything differently, then you are, by extension, telling the organization you don't give a damn. And that maybe this isn't that important to you. He didn't do that. So I give him, a modicum of credit for that. And And I think you can see the details. That's the important thing. Anthony Richardson has not been a detailed quarterback, and that's been a big problem for him. And what I mean by details is I'm a big proponent of footwork. Every coach that I respect has always talked to me about footwork with quarterbacks. This ain't me saying it. This is quarterback experts, right, who have told me this, from Frank Reich to John Gruden, you name it, okay? They all talk about the feet and the connection. Andrew Luck was still learning this in year 6, still trying to perfect it. So Anthony Richardson really worked on that this offseason, and that's an example of details. The feet dictate where you throw the football. He had the highest interception rate in football last season. There's a direct result, a direct connection between those things. So this is progress in the right direction.
Have you guys seen the quarterback guru that worked with him in this offseason? Are you seeing the benefits of what you just described with that work in this offseason for Richardson?
Well, the one thing I would point out is that some of the offseason work he was intending to do got cut short because of the shoulder issue that he had coming out of minicamp. So that he didn't get the intense work that he wanted, and he didn't get to connect with everyone that he intended to connect with. So I'm not sure how much they worked together, but I would say this: even though he wasn't ripping the ball right out of the gate after minicamp, he had to rest it for a while, and then he had to ramp up. But one thing he was working on with his private coaches was the footwork. Even before he could really, open it up and really throw the ball down the field, you can work on footwork without ever throwing the football, right? And so that was something that's a muscle memory kind of thing. So it's repetition over and over and over. And I think for too long, Anthony Richardson has been just a big, strong guy with great athleticism, and the details didn't matter as much because they didn't need to matter that much to him, right? When you are the biggest, fastest, strongest guy on the field, you can get away without being detailed. And the problem is in the NFL, you can't. So he had to learn a hard lesson in the NFL that you got to be on the screws, man. If you are half a second late, it's a pick 6, right? So he has had to learn a hard lesson there. And to answer your question, which I should have did a long time ago, yeah, I do see those details coming through, and I think it's from the offseason work. It's very evident to me.
Hey, Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com. Joint practices in Baltimore coming up this week, and the culmination of that is on Thursday, preseason game 1, of which we have the pregame coverage for you beginning at 4 o'clock on Thursday afternoon on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. What has Daniel Jones, besides competition, brought to the table to even more so, you think, push Richardson in this quarterback competition?
Yeah, I think a little more consistency. I think he's just kind of more predictable when it comes to knowing how to execute because he's just more experienced. I think that should be the case. I mean, Anthony has played, 17 games, I believe. So he just doesn't have the breadth of experience that Daniel Jones has. He's seen everything. He's played every team in the NFL. He's seen every coordinator. So he just is going to have a much broader base of knowledge to work with, and you can't help but benefit from that. That's going to help you on a play-to-play basis. So that's really, I think, what he can hang his hat on is knowing where to go with the ball. Now, one of the things that I think he has to do a better job of is being more aggressive when the opportunities come. For example, on I think Sunday, it was maybe yesterday, there was kind of a go route, and I think it was Alec Pierce, or maybe A.D. Mitchell, I believe, who beats the defender without question, beats the defender, and Daniel Jones, he needs to launch this thing down the sideline, and it should be a touchdown. Instead, he throws a back shoulder throw. Mitchell comes back to the ball, makes a really good catch, and it looks like a big gain, and it is a good play. But in my head, I know what Shane Steichen is thinking. He's probably thinking, man, we need to be in the end zone there, right? So that's where I think Daniel Jones leaves something on the table at times, and you'd like to see him take that opportunity and go for the jugular. You know what Anthony Richardson would do, but I can tell you about his weaknesses too, right, which we do all the time. But they both have their own weaknesses that they have to address, and that makes them who they are, I guess.
So Stephen Holden with us. Across the board, who's been the most impressive player in training camp in the first week plus?
Always a tough question, but I would say the most interesting player, this is not your question, but the guy I'm most intrigued by right now is A.D. Mitchell. This guy, he's fascinating in good and bad ways. The first week of camp, you would have thought this guy was new to football, as if he had never seen a football game in his life. He dropped everything. And I was like, this guy doesn't want it. Like, he just absolutely doesn't want it because he's not locked in. And he made me eat those words because in the past week, this guy has been dominant. I mean, he is all over the place. He's catching everything. He is making unbelievable plays. And I say all that to say this, the jury is still out, despite all of that. Because he did it in camp last year. He was phenomenal. Then we got to the regular season. Josh Downs was hurt those first two games, you recall? And AD had to step up. Deer in the headlights. Wasn't ready. And frankly, by the end of the season, it wasn't much better. So I need to see what he can do on Sunday. And the Colts want to see it too, but they are really excited about this guy. I don't know what they'll do with him. I don't know how many snaps he'll play, but he has been absolutely fascinating to watch. And he is easily, okay, and this is not me saying it, the staff says this, he is easily their most talented wide receiver. I'm talking about, like, if we're in the sandlot and we're picking teams and you just look out there and say, all right, well, that guy, he's the best athlete out here. I want him. You would pick A.D. Mitchell. That is who he is. But that doesn't mean you can execute. So I want to see it. I'm really interested to see how this goes for him this year.
Speaking of interesting, is it going to be more interesting in these joint practice matchups you actually see when, you know, the cameras of televised action are not on? For example, is it going to be more interesting what you guys see and observe leading up to Thursday or what we witness on Thursday in preseason game one?
Oh, I think the joint practice, when they go into the full team sessions, that's going to be big boy football. And I'm really interested to see what it looks like. I think the thing that you have to remember about preseason is you're going to run the most vanilla offense and defense you can. You're not running anything that you're actually going to use in the regular season, you know, with any element of surprise. You're not deploying that in a preseason game. Now, the Ravens, what do we know about the Ravens? Well, they come after you. They are multiple. They are aggressive. They have playmakers on defense like Kyle Hamilton. So you're going to see these two quarterbacks put in really stressful situations. And I think it's going to tell us a lot because one of the problems the Colts are facing right now, I don't know if it's a problem, but one of the realities they're facing right now is that both guys are kind of even in practice. They just are. So they're looking for something to separate them. And I think the joint practices this week against Baltimore, next week against Green Bay, you know, those are opportunities to maybe see some separation, and obviously the games as well, but particularly the joint practices, I think.
Stephen Holder on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So you think Anthony Richardson would take a Skittles advertisement if that ever became an option?
I mean, we'll see. I think I deserve a cut. I mean, for pulling that out of him.
You do, man.
I love it. I love it.
Did he say what he was eating? Did he say what he was eating at all?
I think he's a junk food guy, or was a junk food guy.
What did he adjust to?
So really, he said he cut out a lot of sugar.
Okay.
But he downplays everything. So I heard he was pretty disciplined, but I don't know if there was more to it than that. Look, I mean, I think the guy was in pretty decent shape before, right? Let's not pretend like he was some kind of slob. But there is, for me, it's not that he changed his diet. That's not the biggest news. The news to me is that this is growth, right? This is a guy saying, I need to be better in all areas, and that's just one of many areas. So that's what I think we need to remember about that decision, rather than the fact that he did lose 10 pounds, whatever. That wasn't his problem. But discipline is never a bad thing, and he is showing some of that.
Does it ever? Are you ever taken by it taking him, 2 years going into year 3 to learn a lot of this stuff? Are you shocked?
Yeah,
even understanding his age and all that, but my God, could nobody tell him? Could nobody talk to him? Will he not listen to anybody?
I've wondered this. I don't think he's stubborn. I think he's naive. He definitely has been naive. There's no doubt about that. Whether he's stubborn, I would probably push back on that a little bit. But it still is. It's still frustrating as an outsider if you're a fan looking at that, right? Like, what's his deal, right? Why are we having to have this conversation 2 years in, right? And that I don't know. I think fault lies on both sides. I think there's fault from the player, and there's fault for sure from the team for letting it fester for so long. I mean, that's coaching. Part of coaching is setting expectations, and when players don't meet expectations, you do what you have to do. But did they set the expectations would be my question.
Well done as always, man. I appreciate that. Safe travels to Baltimore. Keep us updated. We'll do it again next week. Thanks, Stephen.
All right, my friend. See you.
Stephen Holder of ESPN at ESPN.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Since the All-Star break, I know, by the way, the Cubs and the Reds later on tonight. I'm about ready to be sick. James, and I'm about ready to hear from the Kenny family ad nauseum for the next 3 days. Great. Actually, I love them. They know it. The best player in Major League Baseball from the All-Star break? Might he be from the state of Indiana? Ask that question and see if James can get on it. Coming up on the other side. Don't go anywhere. John Nolan, the voice of the Fever, also coming up. Busy week for us. I shall explain. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
A ride with JMV.
Are you kidding?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I got tickets for you. Number 9 at 239-1070 right now. The Flaming Lips and this band. You guys remember Modest Mouse? And Float On is right here. So I told it to James a little bit earlier. Sometimes I don't know if it's because of the same era in the 2000s here, Modest Mouse and Franz Ferdinand mixed up. Modest Mouse is Float On. Nobody's mixing up Flaming Lips, but that's going to be a great show at Everwise Amphitheater downtown. Number 9 at 239-1070. You shall receive a pair of tickets to go from us because we're all friends here. And I am looking for any way to find you some overall enjoyment. Number 9 at 239-1070 is a winner right now. I mentioned maybe since the All-Star break. The best player in Major League Baseball residing from the state of Indiana. Have you witnessed any of the Colson Montgomery show from Southridge High School since the All-Star break? 7 home runs, which is tied for most in Major League Baseball. 20 driven in, which is the most in Major League Baseball. He, as they say, since the All-Star break, has been raking. Plays for a team that nobody really gives a crap about, nobody really notices, but Hoosiers, if you have not seen Colson Montgomery play, and especially swing the stick, you need to. The former Southridge Raider has been fantastic since the All-Star break. So I give you the good about Major League Baseball, and I will give you a little bit of bad, and that is pissing and moaning about Ellie De La Cruz has to be in a major market. Nobody notices him in Cincinnati. Is that like David Ortiz and Derek Jeter? Do you want me to puke now or later? So what? We got to watch New York and L.A., Chicago, just big market teams. That's what we watch. The jackassery of that coming up, too. John Nolan is going to join us, the voice of the Fever. 5 straight. And the question is, and no disrespect to Caitlin Clark, but has this team been better defensively without Caitlin Clark? I would make that suggestion, yes. The voice of the Fever, John Nolan, joins us next.
Motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
James over there, I'm John. Modest Mouse, Flaming Lips, tickets a little bit earlier. The Thomas Nichols Band, right? Remember that actor, that kid from American Pie? A lot of you have pointed out he's also the kid in the film Rookie of the Year. You know, I've never seen Rookie of the Year. Too much Cub uniform crap going on there. I've never seen Rookie of the Year. We got tickets for that coming up a little bit later on as well. Yeah, shout out to Laura Steele. This will be insane. On air or in person. Yeah, that's the JMV takeover at the Indiana State Fair. The Tap Room coming up on Saturday night. Skids is going to be doing mixes right there for us. And not cocktail mixes, but actually mixes musically. 6 hours, going to be a blast with the Indiana Donor Network. Donate Life Indiana. Save a life, be a hero, and join us as well for just a tremendous amount of fun coming up on Saturday. In fact, I do have news. Sid's in Noblesville celebrating 80 years of an incredible business. Our friend Brian reached out to me about it. So there was a little bit of a confusion, but we have it all ironed out. So I'm going to do absolutely everything. I will be up near you in and around Noblesville a ton coming up this weekend. And in fact, I'm going to join you at Sid's on Sunday. I'll explain all that and more in just a second. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, the Indiana Fever have won 5 straight, and now the true test, because for whatever reason, this LA Sparks team has given them fits this season. 5 straight wins for the Fever, and they get LA coming up tomorrow night in LA. Voice of the Fever, John Nolan's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hello, John. How are you?
JMV, I'm great. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Has it been more the focus defensively for this Fever team? Has it been a mixture of their defense and maybe teams that on average aren't as good offensively? What's been the combination here recently we have seen, especially on the defensive end?
Yeah, so this 5-game winning streak, I think we've seen that the Fever really right now can beat you in a variety of ways. So yesterday on the road in Seattle, it was a grind-it-out, rock fight kind of a game, 78-74. I mean, this is actually pretty wild. Sophie Cunningham was 4 of 5 from 3. Nobody else for the Fever made a 3 yesterday, but then it helped that, yeah, as you're talking about defensively, they held the Storm to 2 of 15 from 3. And it was a similar kind of defensive performance that got them the win starting this road trip in Dallas on Friday. But you go back to last week at home, most recent game at the Fieldhouse, and they won a shootout against Phoenix. So I think in general, yeah, just seeing that they can win in a variety of ways with a variety of players stepping up game to game. You don't know who's going to be the leading scorer. If it sounds like we're sort of describing the what made the Pacers special, I think it's because it is pretty similar, at least currently here, while Caitlin's out injured. And to your point, defensively, yes. So I think Ari McDonald does a great job of kind of setting the tone, being a little bit of the head of the snake defensively, as far as a smaller guard, but one who's going to start to pressure sometimes in the backcourt or at least near the logo. And, that's kind of helped to set the tone. It helps to have players like Lexi Hull and Aaliyah Boston and Natasha Howard, who are arguably all WNBA defensive team worthy. So, yeah, I think there's been a collective buy-in, definitely both ends.
John Nolan, the voice of the Fever on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. That is a 10 o'clock gathering in L.A. coming up tomorrow night, so that means 9:45 right here with Eddie Garrison on the Fan coming up tomorrow evening. I've mentioned this, and normally when you mention Caitlin Clark and, something that may be going better without her, everybody loses their mind, and this is not a shot at her whatsoever, but you mentioned Ari McDonald and her being a part of this lineup, thus this team being better defensively. So can we say this team has been better defensively while Caitlin Clark has been out. Is that okay, or will that going to get me yelled at here?
Don't get me in trouble, JMV. I think that's your quote to get aggravated. But, yeah, and, Caitlin's such a special player. I think she has acknowledged at times there was a game earlier this year where she had a career high for steals, and she made a remark after the game of, like, when I want to be, I can be a really good defensive player. So, hopefully, seeing the success that they're having here in this style. I think Caitlin, obviously the consummate team player, she's going to do whatever the team's going to need when she does hopefully get back here later this month.
Well, and you mentioned, too, because she has said it, that was her quote, when she wants to. And listen, there's a lot going on when she's on the floor. Don't get me wrong. I mean, she's got a little bit to do with absolutely everything. But to get to that highest level as a player, that's something that has to be more consistently a part of your game. And I don't care who you're talking about as a basketball player. That's just going to be necessary.
Right. Yeah. And so I think we're generalizing a bit here, but let's say in the past, going back to when she was at Iowa, maybe even last year as a rookie, there was a lot on the shoulders for Caitlin to really create and score and just and sometimes do almost everything offensively. And obviously, difference to point out between Iowa and then last year getting to play along the likes of Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston. But it probably just comes with the evolution of her game now and seeing the depth of talent that the Fever have here right now, and so understanding that don't have to maybe exert as much energy at the offensive end and can apply some of that now defensively going forward.
What else has impressed you, too? I mentioned this, and John Nolan's the voice of the Fever on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. When you get it on both ends of the floor from Aaliyah Boston, I think this is where this team is at its absolute best, and she has the capability of being dominant really on both ends. We've seen that a couple of different times in stretches, certainly here recently, more times than we saw a little bit earlier. Why would that be?
Well, I think right now she's being exceptionally consistent, and it's 6 consecutive games now for her with a double-double. To the question, though, of like why maybe some of this comes along now, I think we should be pulling up the tapes of Stephanie White back around training camp and media day and in the preseason, and she was asked, hey, there's a lot of newness here between herself and most of the coaching staff and new pieces as far as the players on the roster go. And so she was asked, like, hey, what's the outlook here for, how good this team can be and how it'll come together. She was consistently saying that it was going to be around the All-Star break that she thought this team would hit its stride. And that was also the thought process with the assumption that Caitlin was going to be healthy and that, honestly, DeWanna Bonner was going to be part of the core of this team. So all of a sudden, there was the turbulence in the front half of the season, and it's still, of course, not even completely in the rear view as long as Caitlin is currently out injured. And I think basically you just have to view having some grace for everything coming together. And now that this team really is hitting its stride here at this point, and someone like Aaliyah is just a great example of that. I think one thing too you hear Steph point out is how they've asked Aaliyah's role to change a bit from what it was last year, and what it was for her last year was even different from her rookie year and from college. So they're referring to her as, a hub facilitator. So now she's someone who often has the ball around the top of the key outside the arc. And, sometimes she's then, reading and driving. Sometimes that's, dishing. And so I think, it's Pat Boylan, TV voice of the Fever. He pointed out on social media yesterday, a reminder, Aaliyah's 23 years old. Same for Caitlin. So it's pretty wild how impressive they are here still at this stage of their careers.
He is John Nolan, the voice of the Fever in L.A. against the Sparks, coming up tomorrow evening. I did want to ask you this, and I mentioned this to Pat Boylan late last week. I think sometimes that we need to recognize in the form of basketball, mostly Sophie Cunningham gets recognized because of her social media influence, but it has been so much more about basketball and at such a higher level. I think that also needs to become more recognized.
Yeah, amen to that. And so yesterday, a season high for her scoring-wise, 17 points, as she was 4 for 5 from 3. And so, yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me here at the moment, but I looked this up recently, and it's only, going up after what she did yesterday. Basically, over the last month or so, she's been one of, if not the best three-point shooters in the entire WNBA. And so with her, remember, she had multiple times out of the lineup in the early part of the season due to an ankle injury. Of course, even for bad athletes like myself, if you've taken a jumper before, you're using your ankle to try to elevate there. So, she is, again, like you said, sometimes maybe people aren't understanding her value as a player, but she's pretty hard-nosed, obviously, and so she played through some pain there, and then not to mention what she brings to this team, just sort of with the energy, the fire she brings defensively too. And so, yeah, I think it's really cool just to see how all these pieces are meshing together so well right now.
John, what has been the issue with the LA Sparks? What stands out to you? Why so problematic for this Fever team this season?
Yeah, so 2 games against LA at the Fieldhouse, and 2 close. They were without Caitlin in both games. They were both winnable games that essentially went down to the wire and had leads in those games and didn't close it out. I think really, it wasn't exclusive to playing the Sparks, though. Again, in that front half of the season, there were several games where they said they didn't have that killer instinct to sort of seal the deal. Now, that said, the Sparks got the Fever in those 2 games when they otherwise were hardly beating anybody else. Now, all of a sudden, while the Fever have this 5-game winning streak and could be considered the hottest team, at least in terms of the longest winning streak in the league, the Sparks, they're arguably the next hottest team. And I guess, kind of take Minnesota, who's just been, by record, the best team in the league all season out of the equation here. But, yeah, LA's coming on strong. They've got an elite scorer like Kelsey Plum. They've got some solid rebounders. I think that's actually what sort of stood out. The Fever had a couple of subpar rebounding games against the Sparks. And now LA has a little bit of a different look. Cameron Brink, who last year was the 2nd pick in the draft right after Caitlin, early on in her rookie year, suffered a torn ACL, and so was out with that knee injury for a little bit more than a year. She has just come back in the last week or so. And so in a way, it's almost going to be similar to what the Fever will be experiencing later this month. Not exactly the same, since Cameron was out for so long consecutively, whereas for Caitlin, it's been in and out. But, LA, team with a new coach as well. So, again, sort of like to repeat what I was saying before as far as this season arc story has gone for the Fever, and you have a new coach and you have, in their case, Kelsey Plum's a new addition. It just takes some time, but it seems like they're figuring it out. They're now, right now, just on the outside of the playoff picture. 8 of the 13 teams in the WNBA make the playoffs, and LA, at last check, they're hovering there in 9th, 10th, basically, just percentage points, outside of the last spot right now.
So is Cameron Brink playing tomorrow night?
That's my understanding and expectation. Yeah, she's been in the lineup here in the last few games for them.
Yeah, that's probably going to take a minute to get acclimated because she's been out for a long time.
Yeah, she's obviously a super talented player, former national champion at Stanford, kind of dynamic in terms of having size to be a rim protector defensively, and then someone who can stretch the floor on offense too. So. That said, they seem to have continued to play well here. I think they have gone 2-1 in the game since she came back into the mix. It'll be a good test late tomorrow night.
Yeah, she was, I believe, on a minutes restriction. So I would assume that's probably going to be expecting her to play tomorrow night, the same type of situation, right, John?
Yeah, I would figure, since, again, it's still just been about a week or so since she came back. So I don't have it in front of me right now, but, if she was at 20, 25 minutes, next bar up, maybe you go 25 to 30 minutes, but not quite pushing beyond that, given, literally over a year of no games for her.
I did want to ask you this. So down the stretch, final 90 seconds or so of that game yesterday in Seattle, was there a time you ever expected maybe the Storm to stop throwing up threes and maybe try to go for a 2? They waited a little bit long to go ahead and utilize that strategy, did they not? Because they had so many possessions and it was just 1 3 after the other. I know they were down 3, but still, Yeah, they waited a little bit too long to go for the 2 and then play a little bit defense to see what happens.
Yeah, I guess on one hand you could say, well, like law of averages, they were due to make some threes, but on the other, yeah, she's only 19. I mean, she's going to be if she's not already a problem, pretty scary and down the road in the WNBA. Dominique Malonga, this year's second pick out of France. Yeah, she seemed to kind of get going inside. Neko Ogwumike, she had an inefficient game by her standards yesterday, but yeah, they seemed to do pretty well in the paint, but it worked out for the Fever that they were content to settle there at times.
All right, John, what time you guys hit the air coming up tomorrow night from L.A.?
Yeah, Eddie Garrison will have our pregame starting tomorrow night at 9:45. So, plan your caffeine intake accordingly. And then Bria Goss and I will have game action tomorrow night starting at 10 here on these airwaves.
Yeah. So, what is this at all? 4 games on the road collectively here?
Correct. This is the longest road trip of the season for the Fever. Started at Dallas, yesterday Seattle, here for LA tomorrow night, and then the last one will be Thursday at Phoenix before returning home for a little 3-game homestand, kicking off Saturday night against Chicago.
Is there a noticeable difference in the arenas you're visiting now where the opposing fans know that Caitlin Clark's not going to be playing?
Well, and I say this, I preface this by saying we've been so spoiled by seeing all these packed arenas.
Right.
So, for example, Dallas, the first matchup, it was the first time that they moved a game to downtown Dallas where like the Mavs play, and so that's a 20,000 plus seat arena. And I want to say Caitlin was sort of a game day decision in that one, ruled out within 24 hours of game time. And the arena was still packed. Because of that, the second game, the one that they just played on Friday, was not originally scheduled to be at the American Airlines Center, and it was only in the last 2-3 weeks that they announced that game being moved. So in defense of their ticket sales staff and stuff like that, they didn't have the lead time. And then everyone did basically know in advance Caitlin wasn't playing. So I did have to do a double take when I looked to the top rows of the arena there and saw empty seats because we just had not seen that for any game anywhere, leading up to this season. And then yesterday in Seattle, yeah, that's an arena that's bigger than the Fieldhouse, frankly. So it wasn't a sellout there, but still more than 16,000. So, again, this is not an issue that WNBA teams were having a couple years ago where I can nitpick, be like, it was only 16,200. They didn't get to 18,000. I'm holding everyone here to a very high standard to pack the place. But again, like you touched on, at this point, everyone has known that Caitlin's going to be out. So, do understand.
Pleasure as always, man. Have a great call coming up tomorrow night. Tell Bria we said hello, and we'll see you once you get back here. And next up is on Saturday against Chicago. So safe travels.
Yep. Thanks, JMV. My pleasure, but always appreciate it. And see you guys soon.
You got it. John Nolan, the voice of the Fever on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. A lot of you wanted me to ask. I didn't want to put him on the spot about the whole the fake crank being thrown on the floor here trend. Yeah. I didn't want to put him on the spot about that. Yeah, I don't think there's much of a need to be throwing anything on the floor. Now, am I allowed? I mean, fake crank is okay. If I were to call it what it's truly named, is that okay?
I am not sure. I think fake crank is perfectly acceptable.
Fake crank. You think somebody'd be mad if I
a marital aid, maybe?
Well, I could say, remember the musician Dido? If you add an L to it. See, I feel really bad about not saying it because it makes me sound weak and wimpy. Fake crank. What is the trend with the fake? See, I can't even say it. Frank crank. The fake crank being thrown out there. What's that about?
The only thing I can think of in comparison is when people throw, like the traditions of throwing stuff onto hockey rinks or something like that. But
yeah. Well, this sure as hell does not need to become a tradition, does it?
I do appreciate there was some broadcast that zoomed in on it, which I appreciated.
I would think that it'd be appropriate if, like, there's somebody out there you don't like. Trying to think here, who would the Pacers be playing if they came here and a fake crank would be, well, maybe 33 now. Don't be throwing fake cranks on the floor at 33 when Milwaukee comes to town. You guys will just say it's for Portis. So, what's this Raw's Alerts? It's got 1.2 million followers. Is this real or fake? Raw's Alerts is your go-to source for fast and accurate news coverage specializing in groundbreaking events. It has 1.2 million followers. The reason why I ask, and this says it is citing the New York Post, reporting that scientists, this is science evidently, scientists are puzzled by a massive, mysterious hot blob beneath the eastern U.S. that appears to be moving toward New York. Is this supposed to be a joke? This is a joke? Or is this science? Hot blob. I want to know, really, I want to know both ways. Is it a joke or is it science? Is it like something beneath the sedimentary rock?
I'm looking at the New York Post right now. Quote, massive mysterious hot blob beneath eastern U.S. is moving towards New York, puzzling scientists.
Is it lava?
I would assume. This feels like maybe this is the start of like a Godzilla movie or something.
Could be.
Yeah.
Is it science or science fiction that we're talking about?
Could be one or either.
Mark says, I thought you were going to go fake Frank, which should be okay too. Fake crank. Yeah, that's not a tradition I don't think anybody wants to celebrate. I don't need to see it. Nobody really needs to see it. First of all, nobody should be throwing a damn thing on the floor. That's jackassery. But especially not plastic wieners. Skivvy says the Valkyrie are 2-0 when plastic wieners are thrown onto the floor. So, yeah, maybe that is a tradition. Quick one, we'll come back. I got time for calls. Anybody want to call? We got stuff to give away. What other tickets do we have? The Thomas Nichols Band at the State Fair, James. We got another pair after that, too?
We got Kansas.
Kansas. Now, is Starship back to being called Jefferson Starship now?
According to this, it's Jefferson Starship, yeah.
Is that still Mickey Thomas at lead, or is that a different Starship? I got to figure out my Starships right here. Jefferson Starship. Like Starship from the 80s, as we built this city and Sarah, storms are brewing in your eyes stuff. Jefferson Starship was always the stuff from the late 60s and early 70s.
What was the name you were asking about?
Oh, it was Jane. I think Mickey Thomas might have been Jane, too, though.
Yeah, Mickey Thomas does not appear on the current numbers.
So this is not. So is he just Starship?
He might be.
I'm going to have to go home and do because this is a great deal for a great cause that we'll be giving away tickets to. I've got to do my Jefferson/Starship research.
I think he is just Starship.
Just Starship.
Yeah.
So he basically goes from the late 70s through the 80s, whereas Jefferson Starship, they're not going to play We Built This City. This is all stuff I have to know. DJ says, hey, JMV, fake hog should be allowed. Easier to say, and everyone knows what's being said. Fake pork sword. Shout out to the late, great Ron Sexton. Richard says the blob isn't that what happened in Ghostbusters. Is that true? You know Ghostbusters. That's up your alley, right? Mm-hmm. Was that a fake blob, too?
I don't remember, actually.
Did you ever see the movie The Blob from the 50s?
Oh, I saw
Steve McQueen's in it?
I didn't see the 50s one. I saw the remake in the 80s one, yeah.
Oh, that was Kevin Dillon.
Yeah.
Was in that, too. Remember that old man went out there and got the blob on the stick? And it just like rolled right down onto his hand?
See, I just remember...
Hey, old man, what are you doing with the blob on the stick?
That's one of those few horror movies where they actually kill a kid. Like where a kid dies in the movie.
The original?
Not the original, the 80s
the
one.
The 80s one?
Yeah.
Kid died in
Oh,
what?
yeah.
Son
was
of a
hardcore.
gun. I'm told by Jeremiah that the proper terminology is a phallic device.
Oh.
There has been a couple of different circumstances where a phallic device has been thrown onto the floor. We must stop that immediately. No fake phallic devices. Just the original. No, I'm just joking. Quick break. We'll come back. Don't go anywhere. You and I, rest of the way. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
And the beat goes on, yeah. And the beat goes on.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
John Nolan, the voice of the Fever. Oh, the hot blob. Ghostbusters. John Nolan a little bit earlier, Stephen Holder a little bit earlier, too. The first unofficial depth chart for the Colts. Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson Sr. atop the depth chart at quarterback. Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson Sr. Colts with Baltimore all week long. Thursday, the preseason game, joint practices leading up to the Colts just flew out a little bit earlier today. JMV, are you going to go see Men at Work, Christopher Cross, and Toto on Wednesday night at Ruoff? That is the plan. I saw Men at Work last night at River Bend in Cincinnati. See, it's weird because you have Toto and Christopher Cross and Men at Work. The only thing that's not odd about the combination is that is, from the heart, 80s music right there. But most would view both Toto and Christopher Cross as yacht rock, whereas Men at Work isn't. That's a nerdy conversation for a different day. But it is true. Yeah, I saw this. Bill Springer, who led Southport to the Hoosier Dome back in 1990, losing to Damon Bailey and Bedford North Lawrence in the Final Four semifinal. Yeah, I saw this. I think Kyle Simpson, the former Southport coach, referenced that the coach had passed away. A lot of wins right there. More than 500 for Bill Springer. Skivvy says you should put up a poll for proper terminology and you can place bets on the next color being tossed. What have been the colors so far of the phallic devices?
I think yellow is one of them.
Green and yellow? I know one has been green, right? So if yellow is the other, that would stand the reason that green and yellow. Jason Hatfield gets us up to date on Jefferson Starship. We have tickets for Jefferson Starship in Kansas coming up a little bit later on. David Freeberg, Donnie Baldwin, Chris Smith, Kathy Richardson, and Jude Gold. They make up Jefferson Starship. David Freeberg, or maybe Freiberg in this case, I pronounce it Freeberg, is the only remaining co-founding member. Donnie Baldwin has been in the band since 1982. They have been all over the proverbial membership band map, James.
Excuse me, it was not yellow, it's lime green.
Lime green. Lime green wieners on the floor. Never good. Fake wieners at that, not real wieners, but fake ones. I wouldn't want real wieners thrown out there either. Just keep your wieners to yourself, would you? Nobody wants to see your wiener. Believe me, nobody. Nobody.
Some solid life advice from JMV.
Yes, nobody wants to see your wieners. Nobody wants to see my wiener. Nobody wants to see anybody's wiener. I don't blame anybody. JMV is from Jeff. Is there any video in the stands? Did they just bust out the fake manhood from a briefcase like they did in Animal House? Yeah. I forgot about that scene with Otter. When Otter was giving advice to Boone about Katie, remember? They pulled the big fake manhood out of the briefcase.
There's not just footage of it. I think one of the broadcast cameras actually zooms in on it during the game broadcast.
But not who threw it.
No, not who threw it.
Okay, yeah. Nobody wants to see it. Always, and I mean always, be reminded of that. JMV, what are you looking forward to most in that preseason game, number one? Well, it being over. Here's what I am looking forward to at most. I kind of fall in the similar category as a lot of Colts fans right now, is I want to get all this dialogue and stuff down the road so we can get to the real deal Holyfield here that makes sense to you. Because none of this, it matters right now, but in the grand scheme, it matters not. And I'm right there with you. And I think that's what most Colts fans at least have conveyed to me about their thought on this team right now. Hey, wake me up when something's going on. Because we've been down this path so many times about this evaluation and then over-evaluation, and it turns out to be untrue. I say this often. It is, seriously, 95% of what we yip-yap about in the preseason turns out to be stuff where we absolutely wasted our breath. Could not be more true than that. Yeah, I saw this. I'll get to this a little bit later on. This will put me in a salty mood right here. I don't want to be in a salty mood. Because I get so sick and tired of hearing about small market this and small market that. And I realize that's because we live in a small market for professional sports. But you tell me, does everybody just want to sit around and watch teams from New York and L.A. and Chicago play one another? And Boston? Hey, great. I'm sorry, that does zero for me. I saw this from Awful Announcing. Ellie De La Cruz has everything needed to be a superstar except that he doesn't play in a big market. No. Let's double back on this. Except he plays for a crapwater team most of the time. It doesn't matter. If you're good, it doesn't matter the market size, they're going to find you. Hey, oddly enough, they found Peyton Manning here. He was hidden. For how many years? He wasn't hidden at all. They knew exactly his location. They knew his address. They knew how to watch him. If you're good enough, they're going to find you, and they're going to televise you. Part of the MLB problem right now is who the hell knows where they're going to be. What, ESPN on Sunday night? TBS occasionally on hell, I don't even know when the times when you're going to watch the games other than when you watch it like I do on FanDuel or whatever the hell it is that covers the Reds or Marquee with the Cubs. That's what you need to do. Here's how you locate it. Some random Tuesday night on TBS? Thanks. The Speedway Classic between the Reds and the Braves wasn't just supposed to be a showcase event for Major League Baseball, but an opportunity to showcase one of the great young stars in Ellie De La Cruz. Blah, 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 blah. A bunch of stats here, a bunch of yip-yap there. But the biggest issue isn't the talent of Ellie De La Cruz. It's how little fans get to see him play on the national scene. The Reds are never going to be confused with the big market spenders like the Yankees or the Dodgers. The days of the big red machine. See, this is so going to piss me off. The Reds stink, and that's the Reds' problem. The Reds are disappointing, and that's their problem. That's not market size problem. They could if you wanted. They don't. They're not savvy. They're not smart. God, this wears me out. And talking about Ellie De La Cruz on the pregame show for what was as ill-advised and as awful of an experience in baseball as you'll ever see from Bristol Motor Speedway, the Speedway Classic. So can you imagine these guys that don't yip-yap often, this in-depth, had a lot of time to yip-yap because the whole experience sucked. It was stupid. MLB on Fox analysts Derek Jeter, David Ortiz, and Alex Rodriguez were effusive in their praise of the Dominican star, but in doing so, they revealed one thing that MLB has yet to solve amidst an upswing in their business: how to gain momentum for big stars in small markets. Quote, "This is a kid that is so much fun to watch," Ortiz said. "You don't see his name out there so much because he's not playing in a big market and because his team stinks most of the time. You know what? He can be better too. But his team stinks most of the time. His team is incredibly disappointing. Not even most of the time, all the time." Quote, this is what I hope. I hope for the baseball world, the Cincinnati Reds, whether this is this year or next year, they need to get into the postseason for the rest of baseball's world to watch. Yeah, no blank. Hey, the small market thing can be accomplished in winning if you're just smart at what you do. I mean, you're always going to be battling uphill against the Dodgers and the Yankees or the Mets. But there is something you can do about it. You can be smart in what you do. Simply put, the Reds haven't been smart. And that's why they've been on this constant treadmill. Look at the Colts. How many years has it been here with the Colts? It's even easier in the NFL to do it. I mean, hell, that's Major League Baseball. They make their own bed with this large market stuff. But in the NFL, it should be easily to bounce back, but the Colts haven't bounced back in stinking forever. 10 years since a division title plus? That argument wears me out. I would love for more people to see Ellie De La Cruz. I would also love it being easier to locate some of these games that are televised nationally. I guess Saturday night on Fox, maybe? Is that where you've found the Bristol Motor Speedway Classic? Out there they were playing in a river, in a lake, in a pond. It was great. Stuff drives me nuts. Quick one, we'll come back. No. Maybe they're just trying to get the suction cup to stick so it stands straight up in the middle of the court. That may be. Shout out to Nick for the best fake dong reference of the day. Thank you.
Do you win a prize if you get it right on center court?
Yeah, it's kind of like something from the carnival. Maybe I'll add that as a game in the tap room at the State Fair. Coming up on Saturday night. Hey, quick one. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. This is going to be a busy week at Ruoff. Great deals. If you're a AAA member, you get perks, including the Premier Lounge. Become a AAA member today. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Boy, Ploy.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
A Frontline benefit concert. Make sure I got this right here, James. This is going to be on October the 10th at Everwise. Kansas and Jefferson Starship get a Frontline benefit show. Number 9, this is Point of No Return, by the way, an early 80s classic from the rock group Kansas. Kansas and Jefferson Starship, number 9 at 239-1070. We would love to see you, send you, I should say, to this Frontline benefit show featuring Kansas and Jefferson Starship. I don't know if I've seen them both. I've seen Starship with Mickey Thomas. And that is certainly more you would know of the 80s. Of We Built This City, the song Sarah, Storms Are Brewing in Her Eyes. Sarah was problematic back then. Number 9 at 239-1070. Would love to send you to this. Ooh, I like this. Can we do a quick segment, JMV, of Asking JMV? I don't know if I want to do a segment, but you can certainly ask me anything you want. Richard says, I watched you on Fox 59 last night. This is a quote from Richard. You don't look as fat as you did a year ago. What have you done? Well, first of all, where have you been? It's funny. Like, I didn't even think a year ago I was fat. And now I kind of look back on it and go, well, apparently you were. But no, I've lost like 83 pounds or so. Richard, where have you been? I'm not offended in the least about saying you're not as fat, but I'm offended because you don't know. Where have you been, Richard? JMV, I think Richard is right, by the way, too. I think we need to come up with a segment called Ask JMV. I don't know about that. Look at the content in the last hour. Fake phallic devices. Richard not evidently paying attention to the show in the last year. What the hell? Classic. Hey, shout out, according to Fulton, today's Pat Sullivan's birthday of Sullivan Hardware and Garden. Fulton would know. We love Pat Sullivan. Hashtag Ask Pat. Hey, we got a busy week. And by the way, happy birthday to Pat Sullivan, too. Shout out to Pat. Busy week. Later on this week, I shall explain. Here's one for JMV, too. This date, or maybe better said, this week in 1993, marked maybe the most often rolled film of that era, where basically every single day it's on a channel somewhere on your TV, on some station. Now, normally I would go with Roadhouse on this, but it's not Roadhouse. Yeah, 1993. I think I know what it is. Quick break. We'll come back with that. You and I on the other side at 239-1070. I've got more on the Colts and the depth chart that is unofficial at quarterback, and the Colts off to Baltimore. Got joint practices, and then, of course, the game in the preseason coming up on Thursday. More on that, 5 o'clock hour. Straight ahead next.
With JMV.
I love JMV. He looks like Rascal Flatts guy.
Got a cool soul patch.
He does, and a buttery smooth voice.
Oh, yeah.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
5 o'clock hour for us right here at 239-1070. Colts unofficial depth charts. Unleashed. Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson Sr. or as the starter. Look down the offensive line, you look in the defense. I think if you're going to ask me one thing that I'm most interested about is the difference in this defense. We went through so many years here recently in complaining about a little bit of everything, but complaining about the defense, and I think most notably the defensive philosophy of Gus Bradley. Now, I realized that Lou Anarumo, he was available because he was fired by Cincinnati. But it's not even so much his defensive philosophy. It's because it was so unlike the Colts in the offseason to go out and bring in high-dollar free agents, especially those that are playmakers in the back of that defense. So I would start right there. I am truly interested in seeing Tyler Warren, because all that has been written and talked about is the great catch here and the great catch there and what they're going to do to work him in to the offense and so many different things they're going to do. And I have said this, I don't care what quarterback that it is, if they win, nobody cares. I mean, Gardner, they were winning certainly to a higher degree when Gardner Minshew was here, and you couldn't care. You don't care. But whether it's Anthony Richardson Sr., which it will be to start, by the way, but whether it's he or Daniel Jones, I am very curious if you do have a quarterback that can throw it in the general vicinity of these receivers, what they can do to make it happen. Whether you're talking about the deep ball to Alec Pierce or the possession receiving of Michael Pittman Jr. or the slot attack of Josh Downs or the hopefully catching it consistently of A.D. Mitchell, that is at the top of my list. I don't know if we're going to be able to digest all of that in preseason game number 1. We talked to Stephen Holder a little bit earlier. I think the excitement more lies with these joint practice workouts beginning tomorrow in Baltimore, moving toward Thursday, really than anything else. Because that's when they're going to get down to business. That part excites me a great deal. And again, this whole depth chart thing with the or, you can make a lot of it, but you shouldn't. Not that big of a deal. It will be once the season is officially underway. Shout out to Doug S. Thanks, JMV. Myself and my family had a great time at the State Fair because of you. Thank you, Doug. That is very kind. JMV, there's a film that is always on TV anytime you want to watch it, which is basically anything now, by the way, but I think I would agree with this. This week in 1993 that was released, and I know where you're going with this, James, that would be The Fugitive with Harrison Ford. Can you name the 4 other actors that were in contention for the role of Dr. Richard Kimball in The Fugitive? Back in 1993.
I
4
cannot.
other actors.
I cannot, no.
One being Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin was in contention to play Dr. Richard Kimball.
I don't think that would have been as good.
Was Alec Baldwin and Glengarry Glen Ross about that time? Michael Douglas, who a year prior did, I think, is a great film called Falling Down, was in contention. I can't quite remember what he was doing. Nick Nolte. Oh, yeah, I do. He was doing Blue Chips, or getting ready to do Blue Chips. That's awful. Nick Nolte was in contention. And then this actor was in contention for, in that era, early 90s, basically every male lead role in film. Who would that be?
Not Brad Pitt,
The final of the four, not Brad Pitt. This was still a little bit earlier than Brad Pitt being that guy. He was going to become that guy, but he wasn't that guy just yet. This guy has been well established as that guy at that point in time. Every film, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to make flops, we're going to make genius films, or Academy Award nominated films, to films that cost a lot and suck. But he's going to be a lead. He most recently was in the very popular Yellowstone series.
Kevin Costner.
There you go. Those are the four. I will say this. I love The Fugitive. I mean, love it.
I was almost going to say Tommy Lee Jones, but he's in The Fugitive.
Tommy Lee Jones is in The Fugitive and is fantastic. Tommy Lee Jones came off what film that he made with Steven Seagal? I believe he was with the director of The Fugitive. Are they the same? Under Siege is the film with Steven Seagal.
That's like the only Steven Seagal film that kind of holds up, isn't it?
I only remember Gary Busey and his face, and then Erica Leniak popping topless out of a cake, and then it all kinds of ends for me right there. That's about it.
The only Steven Seagal movies I've seen have been the later ones, which are really horrible but fun to watch.
Anything with the 3 title in the late 80s, early 90s, I'm down with.
Gotcha.
Right? Above the Law, Hard to Kill, Out for Justice. He's got a lot of real, and there's not much value other than action, fighting, mayhem, and entertainment. But the Seagal with the 3-word titles are the best.
Gotcha.
Love Out for Justice when he goes in the pool hole. JMV, the older I get, the more I relate to Michael Douglas in Falling Down. That was a sneaky, awesome film. Without a doubt. JMV, I know you're a Reds fan. I know at times you like to make fun of the Cubs. Are you going to watch the matchup beginning that series at Wrigley later on tonight? I will. Nick Lodolo gets the ball for the Reds later on tonight. 8:05 Reds and Cubs. Because I got to make sure, I got to watch it because I know the entire Kinney family will quiz me on it after the game. And I love them for it. But yes, I will be ready, I promise. 8:05 coming up later on tonight. And I'll be ready for the quiz I get tomorrow. JMV, this is from Jeff, the JMV at 1075thefan.com. I do agree that the Fever D is better, but not by a lot. Playing teams on the lower end of the rankings right now, plus they gave up 101. That 101 game was to Phoenix, I believe, right? You're probably right. I do say this, though, Jeff. I think that Caitlin Clark, because we talked to John Nolan last hour, can be better defensively. And he kind of quoted Caitlin Clark as saying, when she wants to be. That is part of the dynamic. Now you just want the availability of Caitlin Clark. But part of the dynamic in becoming as great of a player as the type of attention that you receive and bring to the WNBA right now is being that level across the board. And as much as we all don't dig defense in basketball, it comes with the territory to be described as that great. You have to consistently play D. It's funny, I mentioned Caitlin Clark with defense. I mentioned Aaliyah Boston with both ends of the floor. Aaliyah Boston puts up fantastic numbers. You would take those numbers any day. Double-double per game. But I think she could be even better on both ends. And certainly she has been recently. JMV, is that the movie he had the flat top and the bag of guns? That would be Falling Down, Matt, indeed. The flat top and the bag of guns. And he was upset because the fast food place made the transition from the breakfast menu to the lunch menu at 5 minutes after he arrived.
I completely forgot that was Falling Down.
Oh, man, that's Falling Down. It's a good film,
It is
buddy.
a good movie.
Really good film. Corey Kenny tells me I better study up. Yeah, that's going to bum me out. I do remember this, Austin, a year ago. You got to get Gavin Rossdale back on the show here sometime before their show on the 18th. Gavin Rossdale of Bush was on the show this time last year. It's well done out of you, Austin. Good recollection. Because Richard evidently hasn't listened to the show a little bit earlier for a year. That concerns me right there. Gigi says The Fugitive is my go-to movie to fall asleep to at night. Kim hates me for it. It's funny. So you watch movies so much, you ever find yourself turning it off because you're kind of done with it? Once Richard goes to the hotel and confronts his doctor friend because his doctor friend orchestrated all of this stuff. So basically, after Richard Kimball fights the one-armed man in the subway, then I can turn it off after that. Because I don't want to see the two doctors fight on all these floors. Like, I never understood why the one doctor was so adamant about helping out his friend in which he was trying to frame for the crime of murdering his wife in the film The Fugitive. For the sake of, remember the product? Provasic.
See, the thing I really remember from The Fugitive is just the scene with Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford when they're in the sewer right before he
That's
dives
a good
out.
one, too.
Great line.
Richard, do you want to get shot? Oh, one of the greatest lines of all time is, I don't care.
Hey, that's exactly it.
I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. That's great.
Fantastic.
Tommy Lee Jones. I believe that train wreck was actually, much like this, filmed at scale, which is well done. Thank you very much. JMV, I see the or between the two quarterbacks' names. Who would you give the edge to right now if you were put on the spot? I have given the edge to Anthony Richardson Sr. the entire time. I don't think there's any way, especially with, I wouldn't even suggest this is a marginal gap. There hasn't been one over the other. It's not, to me, for Daniel Jones to get to start in week one, he has to absolutely wrestle away this job in production, in results, in the preseason, in front of everybody's eyeballs. There has to be a profound difference in the two, and there simply put is not. There is not a difference. It will be Anthony Richardson Sr. A lot of you were worried about this. The men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments will not be expanding beyond 68 teams this season. But future growth remains on the radar. That according to NCAA Senior VP Dan Gavitt. That news a little bit earlier today. Quote, expanding the tournament fields is no longer being contemplated for the 2026 men's and women's basketball championships. However, the committees will continue conversations on whether to recommend expanding to 72 or 76 teams in advance of the 2027 championships, which, what he's telling you, expect that for 2027. It will stay the same one more year and then advance after that. That's what you can expect. That's what he's telling you right there. Pretty simple to understand. The preseason coaches top 25 in college football. By the way, if you missed our conversation week before last with Phil Steele, podcast at 1075thefan.com, that's kind of your college football primer as he got us all ready. But your preseason coaches, top 25. Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia, and Notre Dame. That is your top 5 right there. If you're asking about IU on the list, IU, according to the coaches, is within the top 25. The Hoosiers, coming off a 2024 season at 11-2, are ranked 19th. So Texas, Ohio State, well, the Arch Manning effect right there. Penn State, Georgia, Notre Dame, your top 5. IU, 19th. Now, a lot of you have made light of this, too, because IU's got that pre-Big Ten schedule that everybody has been making light of. A lot of questions have been lobbed at Curt Cignetti about it. I've mentioned this all along. You do what you're good at. So what I mean by this is if the way that you schedule is working for you, give you a great example in comparison to Curt Cignetti. Look back in what he has done with the quarterback position. Not just a year ago with Curtis Rourke in his first year at IU, but even prior in those couple, and we'll just outline the couple of successful James Madison seasons prior to being hired in Bloomington. One of the things he's done, he's gone out and gotten a veteran quarterback. You know, both those final 2 years at JMU, and that's really when his stock started to prolifically rise. And what I mean by you schedule with what is working for you. You go out and you get players. You put together a team for what is working for you. You go out and get a quarterback. As you know, they went out to Cal, and Mendoza is the guy that they brought in, a veteran quarterback that got sacked a zillion times a year ago. So what do? You believe, and I was talking to Don Fisher about this very thing at our table on Friday, you upgrade your offensive line. Don had told me that he felt while watching practice that this has been the best offensive line that he has seen in practice for IU in years. And it would stand to reason, because look what happened to Mendoza a year ago at Cal. He was sacked non-stinking stop. But the protocol, the blueprint for Cignetti remains the same. You go out and you find that veteran quarterback. It helped you a year ago, and you're number 1 at IU. As I mentioned, you did the same thing at the 2 years prior while you were at JMU. And then if the schedule benefits you because of your time in the Big Ten and it worked a year ago, I see no reason to have to listen to anybody's criticism. Well, you're not playing anybody, so you're not worthy. Well, we'll see. You don't have to change a damn thing until you believe what is working, what has been working, no longer does, and you have to adjust. That just makes common sense to me. So while that is going to be always a hot button, and normally what it is, nobody would normally care, but because Curt Cignetti speaks in such a high level of bravado, then everybody is going to jump on that. Here's what I would do. The whole philosophy is you ride the horse until it bucks you, or you don't ride at all. There it is. And face it, he's done that in terms of how you put together a team, certainly how you bring in a quarterback, and then how you schedule, especially at IU. Now, I do bring this up because Illinois is inside the top 25 as well. You know, that first matchup, and I think Phil Steele references this in further detail in our conversation week before last, is that is going to be the game. I mean, it could, even that early in the season to start the Big Ten, it could, by design, have implications that lead further down the road. True story right there. But no, and not that he is going to take that to heart, and not that it's going to matter, but you adjust on your own terms, and you go with something that's working for you, and you go with it until you wear it out. Completely understand that. JMV Saturday night, we're counting on you, DJ Skids and Laura Steele, to turn the Tap House at the Indiana State Fair into, what is this, 1987 Club MTV. Holy crap. Was that downtown Julie Brown back then? That is kind of, Jim, that is my vision right there, is to turn the tap room into like a Club MTV or Dance Party USA. That's my vision. Yeah, I think Eric Neese, I referenced Eric Neese. He was on the original Real World. His dad at the time, Jack Neese, was an NBA official. And then I think he transitioned into hosting Club MTV in the early 90s. But the MTV or Club MTV in the 80s, that was downtown Julie Brown. Well done, Jim McCann. That's my vision right there. And hopefully I can live that into fruition coming up on Saturday night with all of you. Hey, I do have a couple of adjustments to make, too. So Sid's in Noblesville will be celebrating 80 years, Thursday through Sunday, at what is an absolute legendary institution. So I talked to Brian, the owner, about this last week, and we first thought that there was going to be remote on Friday, but as it stands, I am going to be at Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson on Friday. So here's what's going to happen. The Dan Patch is at Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. I'll be there on Friday. I am going to slide by and hang out with everybody at Sid's when I'm done in Anderson, which is basically on the way. So I'm going to slide by Sid's a little bit after 7 on Friday. But I am coming back to celebrate on Sunday. And we'll talk to Brian, do some stuff live there. We'll bring the radio crew. That is on Sunday from 1 until 3 at Sid's in Noblesville. Again, this celebration goes from Thursday through Sunday, and we'll catch you on Sunday. So I wanted to make sure everybody understood we're going to be spending a lot of time together in the next, well, I should say at the end of the week, Thursday through Sunday. Make sure on your calendar you have Sunday. It's from 1 until 3 at Sid's, and then just maybe, we crack open, because I did talk to J-Law a little bit earlier. We crack open a little bit of pool time at the Foo Bar Lounge. That's on Sunday. But we're going to be at Sid's from 1 until 3 on Sunday. And we'll be doing live hits, live show, live stuff like that on Sunday with you guys for the celebration of 80 years. And then Saturday night, the Indiana State Fair with the Indiana Donor Network inside the tap room. Friday, Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson, 3 until 6. And then I'm going to go to Sid's on my way home after that. And then obviously Thursday is going to be the fan golf outing presented by Franciscan Health. Legends in Franklin, where our guy Carlton Mills of Ducks of Noblesville is bringing a basketball goal in the bed of a truck. And you guys that are participating get to shoot me for prizes. Or, I'm sorry, get to lose to me attempting to win prizes in a shooting contest. Oh, it's going to be glorious. The greatest golf outing of all time. Shout out to Carlton. This is going to be a blast. That's on Thursday, too, 1075thefan.com. If you want to join us in any way, form, or fashion, we would love to see you. Thursday, Legends in Franklin to benefit Franciscan Health, the fan golf outing. Thank you, Indy guy. Eric Neese, by the way, he took over what was known as Club MTV with downtown Julie Brown. He hosted, are you ready? The Grind. It was no longer Club MTV. It transitioned into The Grind with Eric Neese. Thank you, Indy guy. I'll tell you what, we'll get more into college football coming up on the other side if you want to do that as well. 239-1070. Some calls and more in the final 30 on a Monday. We're going to be busy tomorrow and really for the rest of the week. I elaborate with you coming up next. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Banana in the tailpipe.
You're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe?
It should be more natural, brother. It should flow out like this. Look, man, I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
That re-entry right there is Beverly Hills Cop from 1984. Look up if Eddie Murphy is going to play a role reprisal for Sanford and Son. I believe he is he not? Is that real news or is that fake? Eddie Murphy, Sanford and Son?
That may have been a fake thing.
Ah, bummer.
The only thing I'm seeing about it is from 4 days ago, and it's someone saying, is a Sanford and Son movie starring Eddie Murphy and Donald Glover releasing in 2025, viral poster debunked.
Okay. What about the Jeffersons reprisal with Anthony Anderson as George Jefferson in the Sherman Hemsley role? Is that true? While you're doing that, 239-1070, we will get back to sports here. Jeff, talking Colts, up here on the show. Hello, Jeff. How are you?
All right, JMV. Got a question for you.
Yes.
These two guys that Chris Ballard went out on
yes
free agency
right
for our secondary. I want your opinion. Do you think our secondary will be able to help our defensive line to get more so after the quarterback, and we can get more turnovers that way?
Here's what I think. It's ultimately up to guys like Leatu Latu to make an impression, a consistent impression, right? So it's up to them up front. But I think if they're able to do anything at a higher level, to me, especially with Ward back there is a great deal of playmaking ability possibilities there, of which we have not seen with that group in forever. If that makes sense to you, and probably not since, the days of Vontae Davis here. That's what I'm thinking. And I really, I know last year he dealt with a lot of things, but Charvarius Ward is as gifted to play that position as certainly we have seen at corner around here.
Who was the defensive lineman last year that was injured? We were supposed to see so much out of.
Well, I mean, you dig on Leatu Latu in year two. Quiddy Pay is a guy that you bring back, and then I like what they have up front. Oh, you're talking about Samson Ebukam is who you're thinking about, who was injured last year.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I am more looking for the kind of the evolution in year two of Leatu Latu. I think that's certainly necessary, but the playmaking ability in the secondary is what I brought up a little bit earlier, Jeff, as to why I think this is going to be a more interesting type of team. But all of this, like anything else in the NFL, is predicated on what you do getting after the quarterback and then doing it consistently, which this team has not done in years.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Now I have a challenge for you. Okay?
Yes, a challenge.
Yeah, I am visually impaired. I'm blind. I know when I was much younger and I had sight, I played a lot of hoop.
Yeah.
Now, when I play basketball, it's much different. Bouncing a basketball when you can't see.
Right.
I challenge you to put a sleep sheet on.
Okay.
Or some kind of blindfold, and just bounce a basketball and see how different it is.
Well,
have you ever done that?
Yeah, because when I used to like, when it mattered to me to like work out in basketball, you never looked at the ball when you're dribbling it. That's kind of the thing. You want to look up the floor, look for possibilities, openings, open teammates, whatever. So you never stared at the basketball when you dribbled. That didn't mean I was any good at it. I'm not a good ball handler by any stretch. Left-handed's more strong than certainly my right hand, which is kind of odd. But yeah, I mean, we always kind of practice not looking at the basketball growing up anyway when you dribble it. But, yeah, that sounds – I would I'll take you up on the challenge, though. I will do that. I'll do it and then, maybe shoot some free throws or something like that to where you know where you are on the floor, you know where the basket is, and do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. I appreciate that. But, no, how long have you been visually impaired?
Since I was about 15, 16.
Well,
but I'm an
sorry to
old
hear that.
geezer now. I'm like 69.
Are you? Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but you sound like a very happy, jovial dude, and I very much appreciate that.
But I got one last question to ask you, okay?
Yeah.
All the stuff I hear that you're going now with your life, all this weight loss.
Yeah.
And then you got the hair restore, all that kind of stuff. Are you going through a midlife crisis?
I don't think it's a midlife crisis. Here's what I like. I've said this all along, even before I hit midlife, Jeff. I had said by the time I'm 60, I plan on having all new parts like the $6 Million Man. So I don't think if it's a midlife crisis, it's something I predicted for myself. So I kind of want to have all new. It's like I've mentioned it. It is like the 69 Camaro that an old farmer has in his barn that somebody finds, and you put all new parts on it, but it still looks like a 69 Camaro. That's me.
So you're going to have new spark plugs and
well, I mean, listen, it's not even. It's probably more. And here's another thing too. Like I love where I live. I want the outside to look fantastic, but I don't know if I'm going to let you inside because there's a lot of stuff I got to take care of there. There's another way to describe myself right there. The outside is going to, whoa, wow, look at the outside. But the inside's all jacked up. That makes sense.
Okay. Later.
Thank you, bud. I appreciate that. Yeah, Jeff, by the way, is not the only one to ever ask me if I'm going through a midlife crisis.
I'm not going to get worried until I see you pull into the garage in like a brand new like Mustang or Camaro or something like that. Challenger.
I think I would probably, and I have before, I own a lot of things, and I will call myself out. And it is not a midlife crisis. However, I am caught between hillbilly and douche right now. I am. And with me playing basketball and me losing weight and playing basketball, this is the equivalent of somebody. It's like, here's what I have to remember. You get a new car. It's like I have a new car and I want to go out and I immediately want to floor it. A new fast car and I want to floor it and see what it can do. Now, the problem I have is it may be a new exterior, but I'm still 55 years old and I blank myself up more than I did yesterday, too. I mean, I felt terrible yesterday with the old Achilles. So, yes.
You got to be careful with that Achilles, man.
It is. I will tell you all this right now. It will be, I'm going to give myself a year, and I am going to completely Halliburton myself. There's zero way around it. Everybody's going to say, well, you're stupid for saying that and not doing something about it. Well, welcome to my world, because that is me. Because I'm going to push this thing to the absolute limit, and then I'm going to be screwed.
Now, you said you were caught between hillbilly and douche?
Right.
So are you a douche Billy or are you a hill douche?
I am a hill douche.
There it is.
That's better. Because there are still aspects of me that are incredibly hillbilly-ish, backwoodsy. But this whole new douche thing is, I can't help it. It's weird. I can't help with the sunglasses and I try, and people like say, hey, man, and I don't mind it too. Sometimes on the videos that I do or the pictures that I do, you guys will say, hey, man, that's really douchey. What are you doing? Once you put a shirt on, I can't help it. Yeah, Corey says, geez, Jeff was digging deep right there. Yeah, I don't mind. It was Chris Ballard, Colts general manager, that suggested that back at the Combine. He walked by and said, what are you doing going through a midlife crisis? And that's where I came up with the no. It's just like I've always planned to have new parts by the time I'm 60. And I will say this, with the whole weight loss thing, I had zero idea. I was fat. And then I go, wow, I lost 83 pounds. I must have been fat. But I do feel better. That's the most important part. Not only do I feel better, but the other aspect of it, until further notice, my health is a lot better. Paulie says, lean into the midlife crisis more and bring back the puka shell necklace. I could do that, too, if you guys want. But all new parts by the time I'm 60, I have 4.5 more years.
Till you're
And
60?
I need some new eyes. I can't see anything. Obviously, I need hearing. You guys understand that. So I need eyes and ears next.
Have you ever thought about getting glasses?
Readers, yeah.
That's it?
See, here's what's weird. When I read my phone, if I'm laying in bed reading my phone at home, I do it with a magnifying glass. So you talk about old. I'm like really magnifying glass. So I need eyes. So we need an optometrist to jump on the show, and I need something.
Look at you knowing the actual name for for eye doctor right there. That was good.
Eye person and an ears person is what I need. And then we'll continue down this path. All right, Reds over the weekend, it was not fun. That whole Bristol experience had to be the absolute worst, especially for the fans. Reds and Cubs, a series starter at Wrigley Field in Chicago, coming up later on tonight. Frank says keep rocking the Boardwalk Empire slick back with that fine head of lettuce. Here's what's bad, Frank. I try to push it up a little bit. And basically, I blame Gina and Lindsay on this show for making fun of my old hair as to why I went here. Peer pressure. I did succumb to peer pressure. Quick break. We'll come back. Final time, you and I set the stage for tomorrow. The rest of the week is going to be outstanding. There is so much of an opportunity for you to join me and us. We can all have some fun together. I'll explain further coming up. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Pay that man his money.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, crank this up and see if you recognize it. The Thomas Nicholas Band, Saturday at the State Fair. Thomas Nicholas was in American Pie, and this is about Stifler's mom, which is clearly a remake of the 2000s classic from Fountains of Wayne, Stacy's Mom. Turn this up. Stifler's Mom is what this is called. Number 9 at 239-1070 can go. One of the greatest videos of all time is Stacy's Mom.
I don't think I've ever actually seen the music video for that.
Rachel Hunter is the mom in it.
Apparently.
Yeah. Thomas Nicholas, the actor turned musician at the Indiana State Fair on Saturday. Number 9 is going to go. Would this be... This would be so Miles Turner. I know everybody's down on the former 33 here. I'm down on the former 33 for what he had to say, not because he left, but what he had to say after he left. That's a high level of jackassery, and I will always remember that. Even somebody that supported him for the better part of 8 years here. But would this be so Miles Turner to bail, to go someplace to get paid more money, and then tell everybody that it is a more talented team? And then I don't know if you saw Shams on Get Up. I didn't see it. I just saw it online because there's absolutely zero way in hell I'm watching Get Up. But according to Shams, quote, sources tell me there's still nothing set in stone about whether Giannis will stay in Milwaukee or he will be leaving. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be going into this year. But what I'm trying to say is how incredibly Miles Turner would it be to go to Milwaukee and then to have that happen? I know a lot of you think that would be hilarious. Man, as good as Miles was here, and really it was on and off the floor. You can say what you want about the finals. He was dreadful. There's no question about that. He was awful. But look where this team got. He was certainly a part of that. But every bit as he was as good here and oftentimes underappreciated, with the exception for me, that was in his exit strategy and comments about the worst thing you could possibly do unless you were just pissy and they tried to trade you and they brought in or thought about bringing in DeAndre Ayton and the fans didn't like you and you read all that stuff about how bad you were in the finals, unless all of that came to a head and he said, the hell with it, I'm getting paid more money. Look what this team is doing to bring me to Milwaukee. I am going, and this is what I have to say upon my exit. So many better ways you could have gone out than that. But this would be Miles Turner if he goes to Milwaukee just in time for Giannis to be making an exit. Saw that from Shams a little bit earlier today. Well, I saw this from Jason Ellis. Jason Aldean is this weekend, right? Hey, also, to shout out, I don't know if it has been a regular fixture as it used to be, but I saw our friend Clayton Anderson play over the weekend at the Taste of Bloomington, and that was always one of my favorite events, the Taste of Bloomington. I don't know if that was making a return. I do know that it was gone for a while, but a shout out to Clayton Anderson playing at the Taste of Bloomington. I was always a big fan. Now, granted, the Taste of Bloomington is a little bit different. They still have a lot of independent restaurants down there, as they usually have, but the landscape has changed a little bit, as it has everywhere. Taste of Bloomington was always fantastic to go. Shout out right there. Hey, JMV, can you get Jeff back on so we can ask you some more deeply rooted personal questions? I don't mind that, though. It doesn't matter. Hell, you might as well ask, right? That's why I'm here. My thanks to John Nolan. Fever back at it tomorrow night. That's a late nighter. 9:45, Eddie Garrison with your coverage right here. He'll get you set for the Fever and the L.A. Sparks coming up tomorrow night. Fever, winners of 5 straight. Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com, all on his way to Baltimore. You have joint practices with the Colts and the Ravens leading up to Thursday, that first preseason game in Baltimore. For the Colts and the Ravens, 1075thefan.com, the golf outing Thursday. More on that coming up. Friday, Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson, celebrating Sid's in Noblesville, 80 years this weekend, including a special appearance coming up on Sunday and the JMV Takeover live at the Indiana State Fair in the Tap Room on Saturday. More time to talk that up with you tomorrow at 3. James, great job. Have a great night, everybody.